A single axe strike aimed straight at the moon. That was the ancient explanation for the light that waxed full and waned thin every night. And it didn't stop at just once, month after month, that punishment kept repeating, without end.
Welcome back to the channel. Let's get started.
On nights when I sat watching over the horse stable, I would often look up at that silvery moonlight, sometimes perfectly round, sometimes as thin as a dull sickle blade. Us folks in the borderlands like to joke that the moon gets drunk, some nights it's full, some nights it's starved. But there's one people for whom that's no joke. They told of a real slash, happening in a distant land, the Baltic coast, where Lithuania and Latvia are now. The people there worshipped the sky itself as their home. The sun was a woman named Saulė, who wove light the way one weaves cloth, making one circuit across the sky each day to sustain the crops and livestock. No temple preserves ancient tales longer than a lullaby sung around the hearth. In Latvia, people have collected over 1 million such songs. In that singing troupe, there was a story every household knew by heart, the wedding of the sun. Saulė was married to Mėnulis, the god of the moon. They were wed since the dawn of creation, according to Lithuanian legend. A balanced household, daytime belongs to her, nighttime belongs to him, they only cross paths briefly at dawn and dusk. Sounds fine on the surface, a marriage with clearly divided shifts, husband and wife rarely stepping on each other's toes. But Saulė also had beautiful daughters to serve her. Aušrinė, the morning star, is the light that switches on before her mother wakes up each morning. As for recurrence, the evening star, she is the one who lays out the bed for mother whenever night falls. The two women were so lovely that people greeted Aušrinė whenever the weather cleared, like one of their own. Hearing it, this sounds like a well-ordered household, everyone has their duty, everyone knows their place. But there was one thing that Ruth never accounted for: at night, no one stood guard over that man. I know that feeling. A man who's idle at night with no one keeping an eye on him rarely leads to anything good. In that sky, there was still someone else always watching, Perkūnas, the god of thunder, the one who kept order without needing anyone to knock and ask for permission. The ancients had no telescopes, no astronomical calendars, but they watched that waxing and waning circle for 1,000 years, and they needed a reason for it. Out in the frontier regions, I've seen every kind of jungle law. Whoever's at fault pays for it on the spot, no paperwork, no waiting around. But before the verdict came down, let me finish telling the most beautiful part of that household. Aušrinė was so radiant that no one could take their eyes off her. Every night, that handover went like clockwork, until one night, it didn't. Mėnulis began lingering a beat later each morning, just a beat, and no one noticed. While Saulė was still asleep, Mėnulis secretly cast his eye on Aušrinė, the daughter of light of his very own wife. Not just once, night after night, that gaze grew longer and longer. No one below had noticed anything yet, the sky was still turning round and waning right on schedule, just as it had for thousands of years. The crack that's about to split the whole roof apart, tonight it's still invisible, but it's already there. From a distance, that rooftop still looked as perfect as a painting. But every picture has its blind spot, and this picture's blind spot is waiting for the day it comes to light. That night, Mėnulis didn't stop at just a glance. While Saulė was still asleep, he stealthily stepped right up to Aušrinė. Not just one night. It kept happening over and over, until the boundary between day and night began to blur. I once saw this happen out on the pasture, a stallion slipping away from the herd when no one was paying attention. That's never a small thing. There is even a variant that states directly, Aušrinė is Saulė's own daughter. This means Mėnulis didn't just betray one wife. I don't know the rules of their world. But the worst crime, everywhere, isn't betraying a person, it's betraying an entire home. The story from the heavens couldn't stay hidden for long. It leaked down, through broken snatches of song by the fireside. And then Saulė knew. No one could say how she knew, only that her light dimmed for a single beat in the middle of the day. She said not a word. The unfinished fabric of light being woven slipped from her hands, dissolving into mist before it touched the ground. That land had no court to try cases of adultery in heaven. There was only one who stood up, Perkūnas, the thunder god. No lawsuit, no lawyer, no one banging a gavel to pronounce a verdict. He didn't need any reasoning at all. The moon only had time to freeze in place. There was no place left in that sky to hide. Perkūnas raised his axe. Without a word of warning, he struck straight at Mēnulis's face, slicing him in two. That is the ancient Baltic answer to the light that waxes and wanes above us every night. Down below, no one knew what had just happened up in the sky, they only saw a familiar glow suddenly missing half of itself. The wound left by Perkūnas's blow never fully healed. Mēnulis's skin kept knitting back together slowly, growing whole and round once more. Then just like before, he went off to flirt with Aušrinė again. And Perkūnas struck him with another bolt. And so it went, month after month, without end. People don't tell it as something that happened once and was over. They tell it as a punishment unfolding right now, every night we look up. Thinking about it, it's kind of strange, cut, then healed, healed, then relapsed, relapsed, then cut again. No one ever learns anything. There's an alternate version that says it outright. Saulė and Mēnulis really did split up, no longer sharing the same roof. Even the brief moments of crossing paths at dawn, at dusk, those, too, are gone now. But there is one thing they both still love, Zemina, the earth, their child. Some watched over the child by day, while others visited by night. Neither side was willing to completely abandon the baby just to save face with each other. Even a broken home can sometimes still hold on to one kindness for its child. Now, if you all think this is just one nation's problem, hold on a second. Some of their neighbors tell this story in a completely different way. This time, it's not about infidelity within the family. That is the story of a wedding intercepted along the way. The same slash across the sky, but this time, the one who caused it wasn't a husband. These two peoples originally share the same roots, but they tell the story a bit differently, and that difference is what's worth paying attention to. Over there, the son's daughter named Saulė is properly betrothed to Auseklis, the morning star of this land, son of the sky god Dievs. He is the rightful person to bring that bride home, no one disputes that. As for Mēness, the moon over there, he has his own duty, every night he must count the stars for the sky. But on the very day of the wedding, Auseklis had to vanish beyond the horizon, perhaps off to finish his own duty. Just then, Mēness stopped counting stars, his eyes darting in another direction. Mēness pounced, snatching the bride away right while her legal guardian happened to be absent. This is no longer just a matter of sneaking around behind someone's back at home. This is a case of someone entrusted with the duty of standing guard taking advantage of the owner's absence to rob them blind. Auseklis returned right at the appointed time, but the bride's spot was now just an empty space. The bride's family did not wait for anyone to arbitrate. Pērkons, the thunder god on their side, stepped forward himself, sword in hand. No excuse will be accepted. It was the bride's own family who took action, wielding a sword to hack Mēness into pieces. That is still the explanation for the moon's shattered and mended shape each month, only the one holding the weapon is different. And from then on, the sun and the moon never stood together in the same place in the sky again. Two peoples, two different accounts, two slightly different sins, one deceives within the family, the other takes advantage of people's carelessness to rob them. But arriving at the same verdict, and using that very verdict to explain a real phenomenon that everyone sees every night. This is not a fairy tale told to children before bedtime. They had no telescopes, no astronomical calendars, yet they watched that waxing and waning cycle for 1,000 years, and refused to accept it as something without reason. There is one thing I've noticed that no one has articulated clearly, that punishment doesn't fix a thing. Slash, then heal. Heal, then relapse. Relapse, then slash again. On and on, forever. In the borderland region, I once saw all kinds of jungle law, no court, no appeal, whoever was in the wrong bore the consequences on the spot, swift and clean. That has its own upside, fairness arrives right away, no one has to wait for paperwork. But the old Baltic man's story rang strangely true, they didn't make up a happy ending where the moon learns to be afraid and mends its ways for good. They left the loop intact, punished, healed, relapsed, punished again, because that was precisely what they saw in the sky, month after month. A punishment that repeats endlessly is, in the end, not justice. It's just a clock. Swift, sharp, decisive punishment only stops the wrongdoing in that moment. And if you want it not to happen again, there has to be something more than a hatchet job every month. Now, whenever I look up and see a crescent moon, I no longer see it as pointless. I see a wound that is still healing, night after night, across my very own sky. And I left it that way, waning then full, full then waning again, not rushing to seek any happy ending for it.
Thanks for watching, I really appreciate you stopping by. I hope you enjoy the view as much as I do. Don't forget to hit bell. Take care, and see you soon.